Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Litecoin. Before we jump into the price action, I'd just like to say thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Once you're in the general chat area, just add mention member staff. We'll be happy to help you out with anything you may need. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff here. So we were talking, I just want to go over a couple of the macro items. So there's a couple of ways we can look at this move to the downside. Potentially, we could argue that this move has completed into this low, and we could be looking for some kind of a bullish move to the upside here, where we form a series of ones and twos, and then we actually look to progress up in a much more impulsive way. So we're going to go over that option, as well as that potential that we could actually see lower lows here. So I'm going to just start off with the downside potentials. So the internal count of this is going to be the same as the ABC option that I'm looking at within the structure. And I'm currently looking at the possibility that we could have had this as a W, X, Y, and then we're looking for another X wave here, and potentially looking for an additional Z wave to the downside, which could actually potentially take us towards this 2686 range. So need to keep an eye on this. If we do move up towards this 114.98 range, which will be a one-to-one of this X wave, what we'd then be looking for would be that possibility that we could still see an additional three-wave move to the downside. So we need to keep this in mind within the structure. So like I said, there is that bullish potential here. And we do also have that potential that we could look to actually move up higher here and be looking at this as an A, B, and then still have that potential for downside. So we need to start forming good bullish structure if we want to look for that breakout potential within this. So like I said, the internal counts of this one and this next one are going to be much the same. So looking at this structure here, I'll be looking at this potentially as an A wave and then looking for that possibility that we are in within a B wave. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this move, and because of the overlap within this, you could also argue that this is an A as a diagonal, this is a B as a flat, we have a C as a five-wave structure, making a W wave here. Then we could still be within this Y wave, where we're looking at this potentially as an A, looking for a B, and then looking for that C wave to the upside. So the zone we'd be looking to hold if we're looking for this option to play out would be this area here, this green box, which would be this 83.52 to the 70.55. What we'd want to see is basically we'd want to see this come down in a three-wave move into this zone, and then we'd want to look for that reversal again in a five-wave structure. So depending on this how this five-wave structure plays out from this side, effectively we could then look for either the bullish option or alternatively this bearish option where we just form this as a zigzag and then we actually break down. So like I said, that one-to-one area, it would be that 128.76, but within this option at least, these would be the potential rejection areas that we could see a bigger push up to. And, we could see this Y wave extend slightly and potentially come up towards the zone of the 618 or this 170, or potentially higher up in this zone for a rejection. So we'll have to keep an eye on it as it progresses. But for the most part, at the moment, we do have a lot of choppy moves within here. So we need to just be aware it could be just a more corrective pattern here, looking to break down again. So an interesting area will also be the swing high. If we do actually push up this high, that could indicate a move into this channel as well as this one-to-one area, and then also potentially looking to test the swing high here. So if we do fail here, then we could look to actually having a bigger sell-off to the downside as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we do have quite a big zone here of support as well, that we need to get through if we're going to look for this to actually continue to the upside. So it's going to be important to see the correct structure play out if we're looking for that impulsive move. So basically, that impulsive move, looking for that bullish aspect, would be looking at this move like this, where we have a series of ones and twos within here, where this would be 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then we'd actually look for this bigger push to the upside. So we'll go over the subwave counting within this, but effectively, we'd be looking at this as a sequence of ones and twos. So with this move, though, what we would have to do is we'd have to get a nice strong third wave up here towards this 177.48. So there's a couple of issues within this. We have to obviously overcome this channel line. We would also have to sort of break through some of these key areas of these swing highs that we have here. There's previous support in here, so it's potentially going to turn into resistance if we come back and back test some of these areas here. So we need to just be a little bit careful. We could actually get quite a strong rejection off this area, and because we don't have a clear-cut five-wave move, it is possible we could actually just see this as a corrective structure and then actually look to break down from that point. So just bear that in mind within this count. It needs to prove itself. So I'm going to come down here into the smaller time frames, and the way that I'm currently looking at this is that potentially that we have an A wave to the downside. So this pretty much goes for all the counts. What I'm looking for is that possibility that either our B wave is completed into this high point here of this 98.38, and then we're going to start to see some additional structure here forming to the downside. So that one-to-one target would actually be this uh, 84.02. So they would be looking for this to actually have a direct sell-off down here. And I would anticipate this to be a five-wave structure. If we do get a five-wave structure to the downside, what I would also be careful of is the fact that, we could look for this potentially. I'm going to throw this on you. If we break below this 75.82, and that's when I say that, I mean, if we just have a bigger five-wave move to the downside, which actually breaks below this zone or moves down to this zone, then we would have to examine the possibility that we could have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and that would actually look to take us lower. So if we do start to break down more impulsively here, what I'd be looking out for is this 75.82. Moving down into that zone would actually give us an indication of having a bigger impulse to the downside. So within this, though, we can also say that perhaps this B wave isn't complete, and we might see a move back up before we move down. And that would be looking at this as potentially an A wave to the upside here, looking for a B wave down. We've already come down towards that 50% of that 9421. So we could argue that potentially within here, we have something like this playing out already as a B wave. It's probably be more accurate to label this as a WXY, but we'd have to see what comes off the back end of this. So, as long as we hold this 90-80, 91-80 zone, we can still look for this potential. I was looking at this potentially as within a channel, but, we can move this around a little bit, and effectively we could also argue that we've lost the channel already. So we'll have to see. It's one of those things with channels. We can break through them sometimes, or break out of them slightly, and then come back into them and actually look to continue the move as we do within this move here, for instance. So if we do break back up into this, I would be looking for that potential to actually come and retest the top of this channel. And what I would be looking for potentially as a one-to-one of this, if we're looking at this as an A, a B, and a C, would be potentially this 103.13. We, however, can also argue that maybe this is a W, X, Y, X, and a Z, in which case that target would be slightly lower. We would be looking at potentially this zone. We'd have to go into here. So rather, let's take this into there. So that 140, that would be a one-to-one, and that would be looking at this if it is a W, X, Y, X, and another Z wave to come to the upside. So this 140 area would be a zone we could actually look to potentially retest if it's going to be a W, X, Y, X, Z, or alternatively, we could also just argue that we're setting up for this B wave here, and we could see a bigger move towards this 103. So the key areas of rejection here would be between this. We've already come up into the 50% and had a rejection, so this could actually just start to move away here. And like I said, could be this B wave completed and we're looking for that C wave. Or alternatively, if we do manage to hold this zone and this low of this $90 range, we could look for that additional push to the upside. So that key zone to the higher end would be this 78.6, this 102.38. Moving past this makes it more probable that we're actually starting to get extension within here, and we could actually see this play out as some kind of other structure here. But really, it would have to, for more confidence of saying that we're in some other kind of an impulsive move, we'd have to move above this 105.73, because for as long as we're below that, we still have that potential to actually extend to the downside. So this 100 98.23 to this 99.77. Be an interesting zone if we do actually move back up into this area. It'll be a golden pocket area. The 786 could actually also be quite an interesting one, as in coming into this zone of these swing highs here and then looking for a test of them. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. But at the moment, we do seem to be getting quite a nice strong sell-off here. So like I said, it could be that we're actually starting the beginning of the C wave to the downside. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. If we do start to lose these key areas, it's 91.80 to the and this 90 cent, $90 range rather. What I would be looking for would be this potential to come to this 1-to-1, which would be this 84.02. If it does overshoot, the next zones that we'd be looking for would be this 81.88 to this lower range here, which would be this 69, the 69.82. I don't know what's happened to that. 69.82 as the lower range of this. So you can see these numbers here. So this is looking for this potentially to be a 1 and a 2. If we do find support and we are looking at this extension playing out, what we'd want to see is a nice strong wave 3 play out here to the upside after completion. We'd want to see a nice 5-wave structure within this, looking to target out this 177.48 range, then looking for that evidence of a 4th wave, and then looking for this continuation of this 5th up into these zones here of potentially this 217 to this 192.37. So this is what we're looking out for here. We need to hold this key area here for support if we are looking for this to actually play out. And like I said, once we start to lose these key levels here, this 6104 is one of them. This low here of, what is this? 4760, then the impulse starts to fall apart. And then you would have to argue that this stops being viable. Really, if we cross the 6104, it kind of throws cold water on this one, and we'd have to then just look at that fact that perhaps this is just a corrective move. We could still move up again, but it would only be in corrective in manner where this would then become an A, we'd get a B and then a C, and then potentially that would be looking for that B wave that we talked about previously. So at the moment, there is potential here, but we have to hold these key zones. We're already looking that like we are starting to break down here. So it'll be interesting to see whether this can sustain this area here, or whether we actually look to break down below this $90 range. Like I said, if we do, next target range would be this 84 at a 1-to-1, and then looking for these lower targets if we're looking for a B or wave 2 to play out here, or a B wave in the corrective structure. This target zone or support zone is pretty much the same, whether we're looking at this as a 1-2 or whether we're looking at this as an A and a B. It's pretty much the same target zone that we're looking out for. Okay. So I'm going to leave that video there. If you enjoyed the content, please smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, turn on the bell notifications and hit that subscribe button. If you want to look in the description below, there is a link to Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Also in the description, you'll find affiliate links for both PrimeXBT and BYBIT, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. Check them out for yourself. If you do trade on them, just please remember to use good risk management. We always try and encourage that within the channel. There's a lot of people which get hurt out there by not using good risk management. Everyone, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take